Well, thank you for tuning in. My name is Daniel Hapney, and this is The Real Story. Tonight I've got kind of a clip-isode, but I thought some good news and some awakening news. Maybe even we'll finish it up with some homework for Matt, because he's getting better at homework. Here's how it goes. Where can we start? Let's start with the underwear bomber. Remember, it's Christmas Day, you're home with the family, you get the day off, and what comes on TV across the entire nation? A man tried to blow a plane up with his underwear. You know, we're told this man got in the plane in Amsterdam and he started off in, Nigeria or someplace, And then we tie him to the Yemens. The Yemenis. He's a Yemeni. No, he's a Nigerian. What was interesting was when that happened, if you had seen some of our previous shows, and I always recommend you watch the end of the show because we love to show you Building 7 at the end. But if you watched and you picked up all that Christmas hype, terrorism hype, you probably remember the colors from before. It's red, magenta, green, and blue. Why that's important, this whole thing of using and manipulating the media to tell you that they're still fighting to protect you, terrorism. Well, I had found out that the guy who bought his ticket cash for $2,800 was taken in Amsterdam and walked right up to the gate, past security, and was brought to the boarding agent, and they said, you've got to get my client, he's, here from Samoa or Somalia, and you've got to get him on the plane. And the great boarding agent said, he cannot get on a plane board for the United States of America because that man has no passport. And this person who brought him through security, so someone's aiding and assisting this patsy, because this is nothing but, can we call it a staged event? So the person assisting them said, no, we do this all the time. And the lady said, no, you got to go see my supervisor. This person cannot get on the plane. They don't even have a passport. So I got all this information from someone who was on the plane 7 rows back, who described the whole situation. But what I thought was important was they were saying they were sitting by the boarding agent gate because they had time to wait before they boarded, and they weren't opened up to let them on the plane. And they said someone brought this underwear bomber to the plane through security, through all their check stuff around them, basically, around the, and they had the body scanners and all that. So why is this important? Because now we're a little bit in the future. Now we're filming the show right at the beginning of February, and guess what's coming out in the news? Hey, somebody did get him through security. He didn't work alone. He's not a little, nutsy guy. And it's also funny because at the same time I said, well, someone was watching him get on the plane, okay, and he was aided and assisted, okay, by someone with money besides buying the ticket for $2,800. But they also said that during the flight, while they flew across to the United States, in this case to Chicago, that someone was filming him, had a little camera. When I say camera, like your handy cam or whatever you want to call the Sony little small camera. And during the flight, during the travel from Amsterdam to Chicago, they were filming this person. And they thought that was kind of strange. So I'll ask you, when you have patsies, do you need handlers? These may be CIA terms, okay? But when you have patsies, do you need handlers? So now time's changing. When I say time's changed, now you've got to show your genitalia get on your plane. That was for you, Lori. That's right. We got the full body scanner for you. We're waiting for you to go take a flight. Why? So we can get a photo of your genitalia. That's what you need before you get on a plane. I say it's just to condition the populace, but that's just me. All part of the police state conditioning. So, once again, just a news update. If you watch the previous shows, I said this is a staged event. Some of this stuff they're not telling you in the news. Like they arrested a person besides this underwear dude, besides Duty Underwear Man, they arrested somebody afterwards after the bomb sniffing dogs sniffed their bags. But they told you that they didn't. Now it's been 3-4 weeks, and guess what? The FBI comes out and says, yes, we did arrest somebody else. So why did they lie to you for 3 or 4 weeks? Why does the media like to tell you false truths or withhold truth from you? Maybe they don't think you're that smart. Maybe they think you don't care. Maybe they think the fluoride in the water's working. You're just kind of mellowing out. Maybe the Prozac's working, but neither here nor there. Got a couple good things for you this week, okay? When I say good things, now that ClimateGate came out, that's where we found out that the University of East Anglia and stuff and the IPCC, the UN, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, that they were lying all along about the rising temperatures, that they were actually declining, and they hid the decline. Then you find out about Glaciergate. That's where they said, oh, the glaciers are melting and they'll be gone. The Himalayan glaciers will be gone by 2035. Well, gee, we actually have more polar bears. They're not dying. I mean, all the climate stuff turned out to be a big hoax. Well, just like the climate stuff, and by the way, there's your homework. Look up Glaciergate, look up the IPCC, look up, ClimateGate. Find out what the real truth is. Follow the money, by the way. Why is it that it's the House of Rothschild? Remember, for the past couple hundred years, we'll go into that in a second with a piece, but who's handling the climate credit, the carbon credit exchange over in Europe? Could it be the house, the bank you know, the Rothschilds? Who's doing it over here in the United States? Oh, that's right, it's Goldman Sachs and Al Gore. And who else? Bernie Madoff. Don't leave out Ken Lay, who set it up. So, those same crooks. So when your state government, like Massachusetts, starts selling you the global warming lie, like the Sharon school systems, okay, so they put it into the children. Because I think it was a German quote where they said, give me the woman, I'll get the children, and the men will follow. So are they programming you, ladies? That's a good question for tonight. Do you know that most advertising is geared to women? Do you most of this news media that lies to you constantly, the major manipulated media, do they gear that to women too? I don't think less of women for it. Just so you know, if you know anything about advertising, hey, if you watch TV, which I'm sure you do. So, some other stuff for you. Let's see. What are we going to jump into? I was jumping or rolling into the swine flu hoax. Well, Sharon had an outbreak, right? At least that's what the Sharon radio said. Right? Tune into Sharon Radio for the swine flu outbreak information. Well, I have a question for you residents. Do you know anyone who died of the swine flu? Was it an outbreak? Was it a pandemic? So here's a little bit. You don't get the truth here in our televisions and radios, not even in our town. Here's what's going down over in Europe, just so you have an idea of how they feel about being lied to about this pandemic hoax.
Is under scrutiny once again as pharmaceutical companies are being accused of hyping up a false pandemic. The Council of Europe is putting the virus on its winter agenda, which is now underway. The COE's head of health also claims the World Health Organization colluded with major drug companies and changed the definition of pandemic. Dr. Wolfgang Wodarg says it ensured maximum profits but no risks for the firms. Now countries like Britain, France, and Germany have stockpiles of vaccines lying unused as infections spread far less than the panic surrounding it. And now let's hear from Dr. Wolfgang Wodarg, who's in Strasbourg. Hello, Dr. Wodarg. What's your evidence that drug firms created a false alarm over swine flu?
The WHO has installed a private-public partnership with the pharmaceutical companies some 8 years ago. They started, and it seems that the pharmaceutical industry is has very successfully influenced the work, because they made a lot of profit with two false alarms of the WHO. First, it was the birds flu alarm, which never happened. Birds flu did not exist as a disease spread from one human being to the other. And the second now was the swine flu alarm, which was just a normal flu as we experience every year, even milder than most of the years. And nevertheless, they succeeded to make such a big marketing out of it, using scientifics who were at their hand and using our governments, impressing them that they made contracts with marketing commitments which cost us billions worldwide.
Okay, now you implicate the World Health Organization in this, but even though swine flu hasn't spread as much as it was touted, it still fits the definition of pandemic. Is the WHO so wrong in this stance?
Yes, the WHO had a definition of a pandemic, and a pandemic is something very special, which is big morbidity and a high mortality. And this was in the definition before, in 2004, 2005. You can read it in the WHO websites and in the papers. And this year, they suddenly dropped those two characteristics. They said nothing about the severeness of the disease, which is spreading, and they said nothing about the mortality, which is very essential for such a definition. And as the WHO was at the trigger to give the alarm for all which was prepared before, the WHO is the institution which has the biggest responsibility in this case.